Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming to hang out with us today. I am Jeremy Washington, the city clerk from the city clerk's office at Carnegie Town Hall. Today I'm going to be talking about the election. I'm mainly going to be speaking on the municipal election part, not specifically the county, because I don't know what they're going to be doing on their end yet. So for the city of Sioux Falls, the election for mayor, at-large council members A and B, Central and Southeastern Council Districts, the election will be held on June 2nd, 2026, combined with the primary election. If a municipal runoff election is needed, that will occur 3 weeks later on June 23rd, 2026. The municipal election criteria, anybody can run if you meet a certain number of requirements. The first one, you must be a registered voter of Sioux Falls. The second, you need to reside in Sioux Falls city limits for at least 6 months prior to the election. Additionally, if you're running for city council, like a specific district, you need to be live in that district for at least 6 months prior to the election. And lastly, you must file a nominating petition. And speaking of nominating petitions, this one will actually open on February 2nd. So anybody who's interested in running, you're more than welcome to come talk to us at the city clerk's office, which is something we actually recommend people do. Or you can print the nominating petitions online yourself and start circulating on your own like that. See, the candidates, if you're running for mayor or at large, you need to collect at least 200 valid petition signatures to qualify for the ballot. And if you're running for a specific council seat, you need to have at least 50 petition signatures. The deadline to turn in these petition signatures is going to be 5 p.m. on 24 March. However, with that said, there is a bill scheduled today at 2 p.m. at the House of Representatives. House Bill 1035 or 1025B, I believe. 1095B. So that may change the deadline date to submit the petitions. So I have to keep that in mind. Let's see. Absentee voting for the June 2nd election will begin on 17 April 2026, and the deadline to register to vote is going to be on 18 May 2026. Many Haha and Lincoln counties have had a few updates to some of the precincts. There's 2 in the Central District, and there's 2 or 3 in the Southeast District. There's no changes to any council districts at all, so all voters in those districts, there's no changes. The purpose of that was to help with some of those ballot splits, because there's so many different elections combined now this year. There's going to be so many different types of ballots out there, and the counties have redid some of these districts to help reduce some of those splits. And let's see, we recommend voters double check their voter registration by going to the voter information portal or VIP portal. You can Google it, or you can go to vip.sdsos.gov. That's Victor Indigo Papa, VIP. And you will be brought to a web page. It's fairly simple. I don't know if the cameras can see this or not, but it's just going to ask for your first name, your last name, your date of birth, or your zip code. So 3 pieces of information to input in there. And if you are a registered voter, it will give you your voter information results. So they have your name, your address, your party, your voting precinct, your polling location. All that information is going to be there. And lastly, I strongly encourage everybody to confirm their voter registration to make your voice heard this year. And if you need to update your voter information, we have voter registration forms in the city clerk's office or the finance department upstairs here at City Hall, or your respective county auditor's office have them as well. And with that, I will mosey over here out of the way, and I will turn the floor over to Jason Bieber. He has some more information for y'all. Jason?
Thanks, Jeremy, and thanks for being here this morning to talk a little bit about actually the campaign election signs and where we can place those. My name's Jason Bieber with the planning office at the City of Sioux Falls. As we start getting towards that June 2nd election, obviously once candidates start filing their petitions and get the required signatures, we start seeing campaign signs that go out there. So just a little bit about those. Campaign signs are allowed without permits. We don't require permits for them. We do have 2 specific sizes that are allowed. In residential areas, those would be single-family townhomes or apartments. Campaign signs are allowed to be 9 square feet. In commercial areas, office areas, institutional areas, industrial areas, those signs are actually able to be allowed to be 32 square feet with a maximum size of 8 feet in height. All signs are allowed to be placed 90 days per sign. There isn't a specific limit on how many signs you can place on any individual property, but we do ask that you keep those to 90 days per sign. One of the big things and one of the big issues that we do see during campaign time is actually signs placed in the right-of-way. That is not allowed by city ordinance. And the right-of-way, just a good example of that would be from the curb to the sidewalk on most properties. Signs are not allowed to be placed there for safety reasons. So if they are placed there, we would then contact the applicant or the person running for that office, or we would then remove those signs because they wouldn't be allowed to be placed there. And as we talk about, permits, like I said, are not required for any of these signs. And Jeremy and myself would be happy to answer any questions on election or any other questions on campaign identification signs.
Probably Jeremy. This is the first time we've had this big monster ballot. Is it going to go governor's primary and then school board at the end, or where will the local races fall on the ballot?
From what I recall, the municipal elections, those go at the end of the other elections.
So
ballot.
if somebody's, there are different ballots for every person based on their party, where they live, what county they're in, what city, district. That's how many different ballots are there for the city of Sioux Falls?
Wow, it's for the city itself, there's, I would say, let's see, mayor, the 2 at large, 5, but yeah, because we don't have all the different other districts that the county would have, so it should be just 5 for us.
But it's in the same ballot. You don't get a
Right.
separate ballot. Are you worried about confusion, or people not getting to the end of the ballot?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, that is concern that I know I have. We're just going to have to try to get the word out. It's like if you're going to go vote, make sure to look through your entire ballot to get to the city's ballot. Because I do know some people, they get to the federal stuff and then it's, okay, I'm done. They don't bother going through the rest of the ballot. There's a lot of information back there.
You might have a legislative primary, you may have a county
Right.
primary. You just don't even know how many candidates are going to be on there yet.
Right, absolutely.
This could be one of the longest ballots of all time.
Yeah, that's the potential, yeah.
Jeremy, with the signs, is the homeowner responsible for that, or do you go back to the campaigns on those types of things? How does that work?
Great question. The homeowner, property owner would be responsible for the signs just because it's their property that they're placed on. We understand that candidates or people working for the candidates may be placing them, but it's ultimately the homeowner or property owner that needs to make sure that they're not placed in the right of way and then they meet the size requirements. Typically during the election season, we're not in the business of sending citations and stuff. A lot of times, right, this happens every 2 or 4 years, so people don't understand the regulations that well. So a lot of times we'll just reach out to those candidates specifically, give them a call and say, hey, we noticed a sign over on 41st and Ellis that's in the right of way. Can you please get somebody to move it? And typically they do a really good job to kind of do that.
Cool. And they do show up and then the ones with not homeowners, along streets, boulevards, things like that. That's a no-no, right?
Yeah, the boulevard would be the city right away. That would be that area between the sidewalk and the curb, as we call it, that we don't want signs placed. A lot of that's for safety reasons, seeing around intersections, and so they need to be on private property.
One final question, Jeremy. The other part about this combining ballots is it combines partisan and nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. Is that any concern about the intermingling of partisan and nonpartisan races and what that might, is it voter confusion or election result issues?
Yeah, there's always the potential for it, but there's actually no way of knowing. It can get a little muddied, but of course, everybody knows, yeah, municipal elections, they're not partisan at all. So, yeah, that concern's there, but
We'll actually have a higher turnout?
yes, actually, I do. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we'll have a higher turnout. We want people to get out and vote, especially me. Get out and vote, people.
A regular
Sorry.
mayoral election like this would typically draw somewhere up to 40%, though. I mean, for a mayoral election, it may not be that far off.
Yeah.
Okay.
A question for Jason. What are the costs of the fines for people that leave signs up later than the 90 days?
Yeah, so the enforcement process would be our normal enforcement process that we would do. So let's say a sign is up for 90 days and we get a complaint that, hey, the sign at 41st and Ellis is up, it's been up longer than 90 days. We would need to go out there and do an inspection, and then we would have to wait essentially another 90 days and then be able to go out there and verify that it's been up longer than that. The normal process then would be to send them what we call a notice of violation. And then if that sign's not removed within the time period, usually 2 weeks or a little longer, then we would start the citation process, which is the 100 for the first, 200 for the second, and 300 for the third violation. Like I said, that usually doesn't happen with this type of things. Because most people we call them, they're like, oh gosh, sorry, yeah, we'll move it back and that type of thing. So I don't know if we've ever issued a citation for an election sign, but that process is there.
And when election day is over, are all the signs expected to immediately come down? Or is there like a leeway process to still leave them up afterwards?
Great question. So they just would be allowed for 90 days. So depending on where that comes, once an election's over, we would ask the community's cooperation to start removing some of those until, possibly we get closer to the November election. Or if we do have that runoff, there might be some additional time there. But to keep our city kind of clean and not littered with a bunch of campaign signs that are 6 months old is something we don't want. But yeah, then we would take them as a complaint basis, or if we're out and about, we notice ones that are up that's been there for a while, we'll continue to give them a call or ask the candidate to remove them.
Thank you. And then I have a question for Jeremy. Sorry, I know you guys keep having to switch.
That's all right.
You said earlier how, obviously we want a strong voter turnout, people to get out and vote. For people who maybe it's their first time living in Sioux Falls or South Dakota, or maybe they've just never really participated in an election here before, what would you say are like some good resources to find out like exactly where everyone's running and what everyone's running for? That way, citizens can make an informed choice.
Like we always say, at a bare minimum, you can always contact the city clerk's office, 605-367-8080. We actually get a lot of phone calls, so we route phone calls a lot throughout the day. So we're a good source. The county auditor's office, either Minnehaha or Lincoln, everybody's really friendly from both counties. So, and of course, we're friendly at the city clerk's office. The Secretary of State's website, sdsos.gov. Once you go there, on the left side of the screen, there's a tab that says, I think it's Divisions of Elections or something like that. So there's a lot of information in there as well. So at a minimum, you can always contact the city clerk's office.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any others? All right. Thanks so much, everybody.